can steal and lie and cheat. Trying to keep you, trying to please you. Cause being in love with your ass ain't cheap now.
Just a quick warning, this video will contain explicit and sexual content. The video will tell some gruesome details about murder victims and crimes committed by a very disturbed individual. This is not a topic that can be treated lightly, and as such, viewer discretion is advised.
Hi everyone, it's Ladycurious. Good morning. This case that I will be talking about today is the case of Jason Fox. Researching this case has torn me up very bad, mentally. It is a touchy subject. If anything is triggering, LGBTQ, hate crime, anything like that, you can just keep on stepping to a different channel because this is what this whole video will be about. The life and death of Jason Fox and the cruelty of what happened to him. Things that happen to victims are not fair and they are unforgivable. Again, hi, my name's Ladycurious. Things will change on this channel. I am also very stubborn to put my face on video. Y'all have already seen my face if you follow me on Instagram at ladycuriousyt. You can find it there and know exactly who is behind this microphone. Maybe a little bit down the road later on, I will start doing video and talking to y'all one-on-one. It's weird because some people don't want to even hear about it. They want to close off that monsters like this exist. That things like this in this world really exist. I am trying my best to change the style of my editing, so bear with me please. It's going to be up and down while I kind of experiment and see what people like. And if you do have a preference, let me know down in the comments. I'm very open to good criticism. I put in tears, literally tears and sweat into researching the truth, getting every piece of information that I can out to you about each case. So buckle up. It's going to be a hard one on this one. At the end, I will be putting TikToks if you'd like to just continue knowing who Jason is. I hate saying was, because to me, he is still alive in a lot of people's hearts and memory. Here we go. I want to give a warning, a trigger warning. I also want to give a warning that this video is for education and document purposes only. There's a lot to unpack in this case. The more I dug, the more crazy it became. And some of the stuff I will not go into, like occult, because once you go down that rabbit hole, you're never going to dig yourself out. Jason Michael Fox was reported missing on September 16th, 2020 by his aunt because his mother lives in a different town. So if you're wondering why his mother was not the one to report him missing, that is why. All this started was because while authorities have yet to determine a motive, his mother, Pepper Fox, is convinced that Jason, 19, he was killed in Newport, Washington because he was gay. The authorities have not deemed it as a hate crime, but we all know it was a hate crime, and you'll see why. The grieving mother, Pepper Fox, takes to the internet pleading for the world to pay attention to the murder of her son, Jason. After months, she had a huge response from the platform TikTok. Her post went viral and soon her son's story was getting the attention it deserved. And what she says on her TikTok is, "This is my attempt to get a hold of Ellen DeGeneres and Lady Gaga." On one of her TikTok videos, that's what she said. And Josh Helgoft, an LGBTQ+ advocate with more than 3.3 million TikTok fans, responded that to his own post and gave a response. "I'm not Gaga, but if you want your son's story to go viral, I think I can help," Helgoft said, explaining what's been reported about Jason's murder. I will put a link to that TikTok down below if you would like to see where it all began. And that TikTok that was posted has garnered more than 1 million likes From when I did this and gotten this, it's way more than that, y'all. You'll see. The hashtag justiceforjasonfox has nearly 13 million views overall. More than that, don't forget. And Pepper's own TikTok profile has taken off as well. Y'all, she has 4 or 5 profiles now because some of her profiles got taken down because she was just trying to speak the truth about her kid. And that's really fucked up. I couldn't believe it, Pepper said. This really hit hard for a lot of people at home. Pepper says she has evidence proving her son was killed because he's gay. But law enforcement, Pend Oreille County remains hesitant to say his sexuality was a reason he was killed. Who was Jason Fox? Well, he was a 19-year-old, and he was counting down the last days of summer before college began in fall. He had a full scholarship to nursing school. He was only months away from moving and going to college. He really wanted to help others and had a huge heart to give love and care to the people who needed it. He was born April 3rd, 2001, in Oroville, California. Growing up, Jason enjoyed performing in the Missoula children's theater plays. In grade school, he participated in the chess club. In middle school, he was on the football team. He was a member of the wrestling team his freshman year of high school. He enjoyed volunteering at the long-term care facility and working with the residents there. This summer, he graduated from the Pend Oreille River High. He was very proud of himself for graduating. Jason was a very creative person with a contagious smile and a heart of gold. He touched more people than he knew in his short life. He was on his way to changing the world. And when he passed away, he left behind his mom, Rihanna/Pepper, his dad, Mike, and stepmother, Susan, his brother, Robbie, his sister, Amanda, his grandmothers, Teddy and Barbara, and many other family members that loved him so much. While Jason's family continues to search for answers about his death, it's what they remember about his life that reveals the challenges Jason faced as a kid, grappling with his own sexuality and yearning for acceptance wherever he could find it. He was a great kid, says his dad, Michael Fox. He also made people smile. Those close to Jason portray him as a magnetic, caring person with an infectious smile. He could light up a room 1 minute and talk his way out of a bad situation in another. But at home, life wasn't always easy. Jason's mom, Pepper, moved to Seattle when he was young after she and Michael, his father, split up. Jason went long periods of his childhood without seeing her at all. Susan Fox, Michael's wife, helped raise Jason and his older brother, Robbie, as a mother from a younger age. But it took a while for the kids to open up to her. Susan says she and Jason had a rough relationship at times, but she says they loved each other like mother and son. Meanwhile, Jason and Robbie, less than a year apart, had very contrasting personalities. Jason liked the theater, and Robbie liked sports. Jason was drawn to art, and Robbie liked working on cars. Jason had a good group of friends in school. In high school, Jason was a DJ for the high school's radio station. He joined the wrestling team and tried other activities as he was trying to find his way, Michael says. I do not like his father, by the way. It was more difficult for him to fit in compared to his older brother, who joined the popular kids. Robbie and Jason were close as young kids, but as they got older, Robbie says even he picked on Jason and his friends, something he says he now deeply regrets. In Newport, if you don't do sports or if you don't do certain things, you're not popular, Robbie says. But Jason wasn't just a kid in the school who everyone singled out. If someone said something to him, he'd go back at them. He never came home crying because kids picked on him, his family says. He would, however, come home roughed up after being in a fight. Jason didn't come out until he was 18. When he did, it wasn't exactly a shock. Robbie always knew Jason was gay, he says. Michael says he and Susan knew early on too. It was like, okay, I'm glad you're telling us, Michael says, but we've known forever. Before his senior year of high school, Jason decided he wanted to live with Pepper in Seattle. It was partly because he wanted to reconnect with her, and partly to get out of Newport. Michael doesn't want to generalize about the people of Newport, a town of just 2,000 people right by the Idaho border, but he admits it is not the easiest place for a kid to come out as LGBTQ. There are a lot of simpletons here that have raised their children to be simpletons. He says a lot of young people got a real problem with anyone that has a different sexual orientation than they think is correct, Michael says. Maybe a more accepting culture in Seattle would help Jason, his parents thought. In some ways, Pepper thinks it would help. Initially, she saw how happy he was at first, to finally experience being accepted just the way he was. He made friends easily and went to parties with kids his age. One day he confessed to Pepper that he told people in Newport he was bisexual instead of gay, only because he thought that it was more acceptable in Newport. In Seattle, he started to push the limits more, and Pepper grew concerned because Jason was using gay dating apps to meet strangers. His fear of acceptance, however, never went away. At one point, she scoured his phone and found that Jason was looking up instances of violence against LGBTQ people, or he was searching for which areas of the country are LGBTQ friendly. So he was still concerned. He had a fear of other people that wouldn't accept him. And that's really sad. Especially what happened to him just blows my mind. Before long, his grades started to drop. Pepper says he also missed his friends in Newport, and he didn't have enough credits to graduate. Michael was adamant that he graduate, so Jason went back to Newport in June to finish the last of his credits at an alternative high school. His teacher, Peg Waterman, remembers what Jason wrote in his assignment about his plans after high school. He'd written he wanted to become a nurse to save lives. He cared tremendously about others. Within weeks of coming back home, Jason started going down a dangerous road. At some point, Jason tried meth, admitting he did so to his dad. Michael says he wouldn't let that happen in his house, so Jason was couch surfing through the summer. Meth use has ravaged small towns across America, and Newport is no exception. It's definitely part of our community, and has been for decades. Sheriff Blakesley says. Over the summer, not long before his death, Pepper says Jason called her and told her that a man raped him. She asked him to come back to the west side with her, but he said he didn't have any real friends there. When she told him to report the sexual assault, he said he would. Blakesley, however, said that as far as he knows, it was not reported to anyone. Looking back now, Pepper is overcome with regret that she let Jason return to Newport. I hold myself responsible for it, she says. I shouldn't have let him come back. That is so sad. Still couch surfing, Jason sometimes stayed with Matt Freeman, one of the people accused in his murder, Pepper says. Jason also mentioned hanging out with Claude, and his dad didn't know exactly what was going on, but he had an idea. I'm a realist. I figured he was doing some drugs and whatever, Michael says, but I never imagined anything like this was going to happen. Susan, his stepmom, worried about Jason. He had reached a crossroads. A bright future was ahead of him, but he needed some support getting there. In August, his family suggested that Jason go visit Robbie in Pullman. Robbie says he bought a new bed and a TV, setting up a room to make his brother comfortable. The plan was for Jason to stay there until he started college at Spoken Falls Community College. Robbie tears up when he remembers Jason visiting in August. They had their issues in high school, but that last time Jason visited Pullman, their relationship was the best it's ever been, Robbie says. Robbie jokes that Jason stole his friends. For the first time, Robbie saw Jason really fit in. Robbie thought it could help him stay away from drugs. I think he used because he was worried about what everyone else would think. So he never accepted himself. After a week, Jason told Robbie he didn't want to intrude, so he went back to Newport. Jason said he would visit his brother again in Pullman the next month. Even if they can't prove it's a hate crime, Pepper remains convinced that Jason's murder had to do with sexuality, either Jason's or that of his murderers. I have that in my book as a hate crime, Pepper says. One day, she says she wants to build a house in Newport that would be safe for anyone who identifies as LGBTQ. For Robbie, what helps him cope with his brother's death isn't the arrest. It's Jason's memory. At home, he keeps a bag of Jason's clothes next to a hope chest full of Jason's belongings. He leaves a spot open for Jason on the couch. When he thinks of Jason, he takes out some items, stuffed animals, clothes, a blanket, and sets them next to him where his brother is supposed to be. Sometimes I just put my head down and fall asleep there on the couch, Robbie says. That's what helps me. The night Jason was killed, just past midnight on September 14th, 2020, he sent a relative the address of Timber River Ranch, 22 Jurgens Road, Newport, Washington, 99156, located a short drive from his hometown of Newport, about 55 miles north of Spokane. It's a wedding venue where couples have a ceremony in front of the pond of the Pend Oreille River, where Jason planned to meet his friends. Jason was uneasy about going because he didn't want Riley Helsted, who lived there with Matthew, Claude, and Amanda Pearson, Matt's girlfriend, to be there at the property. He asked his friend, Claude, who was encouraging him to come out, if Riley would be there. Through text message, "Where's your place, and is it for real, not Riley? Like, I for real want to kick it. I just ain't down for the drama." And Claude writes back, "Bro, that's why I'm at where I am at, because I don't like that shit around me." Jason agreed but remained uneasy. Jason wrote, according to a screenshot of his conversation, "Just in case anything happens to me." That is a chilling thing to say because of what's about to happen to him. It was the last time anyone from Jason's family would hear from him. 3 days before Jason planned to go to Pullman to see his brother, Claude encouraged Jason to pick him up and head to Timber River Ranch. The ranch, an 11-minute drive from Newport. The drive would have taken Jason along a highway surrounded by forest and hills, out into the country. They would travel past the gate into a dirt road, deeper into the trees until they reached the ranch. There, authorities say, he'd met Matthew, Kevin, and Riley. The day after Shannon Scheckler, the property's owner, and her attorney surveyed the property and encouraged Riley and Matt, investigators reported Jason made a drug deal with a woman who appeared to be dating Riley. Jason didn't have the money to buy meth from her, court documents say, so he gave her his Apple Watch to hold as collateral until he could pay her. When Jason realized he'd been given salt instead of meth, a search warrant says, he sent the woman a Facebook message trying to get his watch back. Their last communication over Facebook is Jason's unanswered hello. At the same time, search warrants say Jason was messaging someone else about buying drugs. Later the same night, just before midnight, Jason had his last interaction on Facebook when he exchanged messages with Claude. Jason said he wanted to hang out with Claude, but not Riley. A few minutes before his last contact with Claude, Jason texted his aunt's boyfriend, saying where he would be, just in case something happens to me, and these were reported from court documents. Unfortunately, Jason was killed that night, and his body was found 2 weeks later buried in a shallow 3-foot deep grave at the ranch, with his hands tied behind his back. The coroners reported that he died from blunt force trauma to his head. I'm going to let you know more through the investigation. I am sorry if some of the stuff that I have repeated, I have tried my hardest to tie all of this together. There are so many moving parts in this case that it is hard to try to make it flow. And I'm trying my best, y'all. In police interviews, the 4 men interested were Riley Hillstead, Claude Merritt, Matthew Radix Freeman, and Kevin Belding. They all indicated they were at the ranch that night, but none admitted personally to killing Jason. A witness indicated that Riley that night operated a skid steer, a type of excavator, around the area where Jason's body was located. As investigators in Pend Oreille County searched for a motive, his death was reverberated across the LGBTQ community. Details of the alleged murder sound eerily like that of Matthew Shepard, a gay college student tortured in a Wyoming field and left to die in 1998. Let me know if you want me to do a case on that one. A murder that eventually led Congress to expand the federal hate crime law to include crimes motivated by gender, sexual orientation, gender identity, or disability. On November 7th, nearly 2 months after Jason's murder, sheriff's deputies brought in Riley for an interview. And guess what? Riley showed up wearing a ballistic vest, pepper spray, handcuffs, knives, and an AR-15. I mean, what the fuck? Is he like going to war? This little bitch. All of the suspects told a different story. Riley, Matthew, and Claude each deflected blame and said that the other two beat up Jason in a shop at the ranch, records say. They all said Belding, the fourth man charged, was in the shop at the time. Witness statements and social media records indicate that Riley operated a skid steer, which authorities believe is what buried Jason. Sheriff Blakesley said Jason was not buried alive, but, some think that he was, because it says that before he was pushed into the grave, he was put on his knees and then kicked into the grave and then buried. They don't know. We don't know. Speculation. Before the arrest, Michael thought his son was a victim of a hate crime for being gay. Now he and his stepmom Susan say they're just glad to see arrest made, trusting the sheriff if he says there's no evidence for a hate crime. The four men remain in jail and have not made any public comments since their arrest. The thing that I think has helped us most is knowing that these assholes have been arrested, Susan says. The sheriff declined to answer questions about whether homophobic slurs were used by any of the suspects during the alleged murder, or whether Jason was lured to the property under fake pretenses. He says Jason was familiar with the individuals at the property, but wouldn't specify what the nature of the relationship was. Now, Claude, we know, was supposedly a good friend of Jason. The others, I don't think they were. The next day, like I said, his aunt reported him missing. The day after that, on the afternoon of September 17th, a sheriff's deputy and a Newport police officer arrived at the ranch in search of Jason after an emergency cell phone ping showed he'd been there just after midnight. They found Riley, Matthew, Claude, and Amanda at the property. Each one told investigators something different about when they had last seen Jason. Claude said he hadn't seen Jason in 2 weeks. Riley said he hadn't seen Jason for a month. Matt said Jason knew better than to come out there, according to court documents, and not been there for 2 months. Pearson said Jason had been on the property a week prior, adding he had to be escorted off the property. On September 22nd, Jason's vehicle, remember, he rode out there and brought Claude with him, was found all the way in Libby, Montana. Why the hell would Jason's vehicle be all the way out there? Someone was trying to get rid of evidence and hide stuff. Phone records indicate Matt's phone was the same place after Jason's disappearance. Investigators returned to the ranch for another round of interviews. All men still had varying versions of a similar story. That Jason had come out there to the ranch in early hours of September 15th and gotten into an argument with Matt. When it appeared that Matt was about to assault Jason, they said Claude intervened. Jason then left in a silver car and the men followed him off the property to make sure he left. Law enforcement later got consent from Shannon to search the property. On October 2nd, they found a pill bottle with Jason's name on it, leading to Stateland. Next to the ranch, authorities then found black sunglasses broken with a lens missing, court documents say. In a clearing off the trail, investigators found 2 parked boats, one up on a trailer and one sitting on the ground. Search dogs brought to aid alerted authorities to the grounded boat. Beneath it, they found what appeared to be a fresh gravel, with tire tracks leading towards it. 2 days later, authorities brought a backhoe to the property and began digging underneath the boat. And that's when they found Jason's body, his hands bound behind his back. Pepper says she read parts of Jason's diary describing his being raped this summer. But the sheriff says the diary which they investigated does not provide a level of detail. To me, a level of detail is just kind of glossing over the issue and glossing over what they found. That would indicate Jason was sexually assaulted. However, Sheriff Blakesley says that a rumor of a sexual assault is something we're looking into and trying to determine motive. The motive was, it was a hate crime. There are so many examples in this world, and let me tell y'all that I worked as a correctional officer at a state prison for 5 years. I'm not sure if y'all knew that about me. And I have seen some shit. And there have been where inmates have raped another inmate with a handle of a mop because he was gay. And the inmates that did it weren't, but the inmate that was the victim was. And even in movies, the same things happen. That is why gay men are raped in such a brutal way, because these asshole motherfuckers think that, oh, you like it up the butt? Okay, I'll show you. And they end up doing that and killing them. Like I told you, trigger warning. He says Jason never reported a sexual assault to police, and as he understands it, if the incident did happen, it was outside his jurisdiction. Investigators have access to social media records that reveal how Jason had a recent history with the men accused of murdering him. A Google account Pepper provided for deputies contained nude photos of Claude, along with photos of other unidentified men, according to the search warrant. To me, there's a motive. Maybe Claude came out as being gay, and maybe him and Jason had something going on, or he shared some nude photos with Jason, and Jason, I don't know, threatened that he was going to leak them or something, or Claude wanted them back, or didn't want Jason to spread that he was bisexual. That's a motive for murder. Happens all the time. That's just me speculating. That is not fact. There were also screenshots of text conversations with Jason involving threats back and forth, but investigators have evidently not been able to confirm the identity of the people in those texts. Investigators have screenshots of a text conversation between Matt and Jason that took place on June 27th, months before Jason's death. Both appear to be threatening each other and referencing a previous altercation. At one point, according to the search warrant, Matt says, "I wasn't playing around that night. If you hadn't have backed up your car up like you did, you probably wouldn't be here, man." This conversation took place 3 days after Jason made a harassment report to the Pend Oreille County Sheriff's Office saying that Matt Freeman swung a pipe at his car and then bullied Jason into giving up money. A month later, on July 31st, Jason made a malicious mischief report to the sheriff's office saying that both Riley and Matt smashed the windshield of his car. Jason at the time said that Riley had an assault rifle and yelled about how he wanted to shoot Jason, a search warrant says. Afterward, Jason posted on Facebook calling the two the biggest pieces of shit I've ever met in my whole life, saying they destroyed his windshield after blaming Jason for someone taking their license plate, the warrant says. Pepper says she has since been able to get into Jason's iCloud account, where she's learned more about Jason's history with the people in jail for his murder. Investigators request a warrant for that account. Pepper Fox continues to claim on social media that she has information proving that the murder of Jason was a hate crime and should be prosecuted as such, the warrant says. I believe that Jason's iCloud accounts likely contain more information that is relevant to this investigation. A judge granted a warrant for those records on April 6th. Pepper believes it will prove that the murder of her son was a hate crime. It's so heartbreaking, she says. It's so hard to look at some of this stuff. Michael Fox, Jason's father, says he's glad that the people on TikTok are angry about the murder of his son. It shouldn't have happened regardless of the motive. Michael Fox says previously he was skeptical that evidence in the case would rise to the level of a hate crime. But having seen more evidence since then, he's a bit more confident that it is. I think there's a pretty good argument to be made that it is a hate crime, he says. Still, he says things have been exaggerated on TikTok that he's uncomfortable with. Specifically, he says he's seen some people say Jason was tortured and dismembered, and authorities have said that is not true. And his dad says he does not see how that's going to help. Now, Jason was not dismembered. Tortured? Maybe. Maybe. To me, being beat until you are dead is being tortured. I'm just saying. It's not like in the movies, spy movies, where they cut fingers off and pull fingernails and waterboard you. None of that type of torture. But being a gay man and loving who you want to love and then being beat to death over it is being tortured. That is my opinion. But Pepper says the attention on social media has reminded people that it's still difficult to grow up gay, especially in a rural town. She says because of that attention, she was able to help lead a pride parade in New York earlier this month in honor of her son. It hit a heartstring with a lot of people. There's a lot of gay men who either grew up in rural areas or their parents rejected them after they came out as gay. He could have been them. In the hours before authorities says he was brutally murdered, Jason felt something familiar to him as a gay kid, growing up in a small town. The fear of being unwelcome. Blacksley says that right now there is no evidence for hate crime, though it's not been completely ruled out. Till this day, they are still fighting for that. They have not been prosecuted for hate crime. Onward. On September 20th, law enforcement spoke with Kevin Belding, who said he hadn't seen Jason in the last 2 to 3 weeks. Belding said he might be in Montana, where his car was found. Huh, Kevin? 2 days later, Jason's car was found outside of Libby, Montana. In a follow-up interviews, Amanda Pearson, Matt's girlfriend, told law enforcement that on the night of Jason's disappearance, she woke up to the sound of a skid steer that was in the area where Jason's body was located. She said later that night, Riley and Matt left for Montana. I think little Amanda Pearson, was more involved than what she's saying she was. On September 24th, Sean Bella messaged Riley over Facebook stating, "You need to explain what happened and be a better man, dude. You can't just hide what you did to a 19-year-old kid." In a follow-up interview on November 7th, Riley admitted to driving the skid steer and transporting Jason's car to Montana with Matt, but denied that he moved his body. He said Claude had covered up a big blood spot in the shop with a rug. Riley denied moving Jason's body, but then stated that if he dug the hole, it would have been over the cab. I'm guessing a deeper hole? That's what he means. Phone records show that Riley's phone pinged in Libby on September 15th. On the same day, Claude told officials he watched Riley and Matt beat up Jason before tying Jason's hand behind his back. Claude said he tried to stop them, but Belding pointed a gun at him. Claude said that was the last time he saw Jason alive. Matt said Claude and Riley were the ones who beat up Jason. Just back and forth, back and forth. Claude was interviewed next. He told a similar story, but claimed he didn't hit Jason. He said Riley and Matt beat up Jason in the office of the shop. According to the documents, he told detectives that they were hitting and kicking Jason. Claude said he tried to stop them, but Riley threatened him and another suspect, Kevin Belding, with a gun. Claude said Matt, Freeman, and Riley. Matt and Riley led Jason out the back door with his hands tied behind his back, documents describe. That's the last time he claims he saw Jason. Claude claims he and Belding sat inside the shop and smoked weed. He allegedly heard a skid steer running outside during this time. Claude claims Matt told him the next morning that Jason was dead and they buried him. Riley, can you get your story straight, man? I meant, like, you just said that you didn't know what happened to Jason, but then you did admit that you're the one that was driving the skid steer. That means you buried Jason. So what the fuck, dude? Through the investigation, detectives discovered that Riley said on social media that he was bringing the skid steer to the property. Belding was also interviewed, but was adamant that he left when Jason was told to leave the property on September 15th. Matt was later interviewed by authorities. Again, he claimed he was not involved. Matt claims Riley and Claude beat up Jason while he was sitting in the office. He said Riley kicked Jason in the face. Documents say Jason sagged down when he kicked him. When he woke up, Matt said Claude kneed him in the face at least twice. When he woke up, Matt said Claude kneed him in the face at least twice. So these 4 boys are just interchangeably trying to blame each other and trying to act like they were little innocent boys. No, if you are witnessing something like that, no matter which one of you, you are not innocent. You could have stopped it. You could have pulled out your little cell phone and called the police when it was happening. So all of you are at fault for his murder. Pepper stated in a TikTok I myself watched that she got a phone call like 4 times from Jason on September 13th around 4 p.m. Remember that. September 14th is when Jason was murdered. But She said that her and Jason were like kind of in a little tiff, a little argument, and she just decided not to answer because she didn't want to hear it. And she said she regrets that so bad because they also found out that right after she didn't answer the phone, he started texting people saying that he loved them, like saying his goodbyes. It makes me wonder if either one of the other guys knew what was going to happen to him and they texted everybody, or they told Jason, hey, you're going to die tonight. If you want, you can go ahead and text everyone you love that you love them before we get rid of you. To me, that chills me to the bone, and it's weird, and it has not been really looked into, but that's weird. I want to say, I feel like Michael Fox, Jason's father, is a little creepy and acts weird and shows no remorse by the looks of it. I thought this before even watching Pepper's TikToks on the situation. The text messages this piece of crap father wrote to Pepper just blew my mind. At the end, y'all will see the text messages. Just pause them and read them, and you're just like, what? You can tell Jason and his father did not get along. Pepper states it's because he didn't accept Jason as a gay man. I also want to say that you can tell Jason was Pepper's best friend. This mama bear is a badass and will not stop trying to help make a difference in the rights of the LGBTQ+ community. Michael's wife, Susan, Jason's stepmother, was a member of a said church, and the day they called Pepper, Michael, and Susan to the police department to break the news that they have found Jason's body, Pepper stated there were 2 men already there at the police department. And get this shit, y'all. They were members of the congregation of the church that Susan went to. Pepper's thinking occult, but we will not be going down that road on this case. Like I said, there's some things I just will not go down. I wanted to put it out there so y'all will be aware of how deep these theories go. Pepper also feels the reason why they will not change or add charges to the men sitting in prison right now with a hate crime is because the county will lose their funding from the state of being the only county in X amount of time for not having a hate crime. It's all about money, not what is right. The sheriff said, we have some information, but we want to be sure before we put any information out. So far, the investigation has uncovered a wedge of drugs, harassment, and violence among a group of young adults. Jason's family has said they believe the killing was motivated by their son's bisexuality and flamboyance. You mean his sexuality. Drug use was prevalent among Jason and those suspected in his murder. They don't want to say whether drugs somehow led to the killing, but the sheriff urged patience, saying the investigation is very much still active, and that his department is working with Newport Police, Idaho law enforcement, the Washington State Patrol, the FBI, and others I don't want to mention for the time being. He also suggested they have found more than they have disclosed in the few court filings so far made public. I can't tell you everything that I know, Sheriff Blakesley said. What Blakesley, his fellow investigators, and prosecutors have alleged is that Jason and the men accused of killing him had a tangled history. Jason's mother says she doesn't know when or why Jason initially befriended Matt, Riley, Claude, and Belding, but she believes he became involved with them sometime after moving out of his father's home in Newport earlier this year of 2020. Then about 6 months ago, Jason moved in with Matt and his girlfriend Amanda, but then Jason moved out and moved in with a relative, and that's when Matt and his girlfriend moved to Timber River. Riley also took up residence at the ranch. Now, the ranch, okay? I'm gonna kind of get into the backstory of the ranch and who the owners were. The Timber River Ranch sprawls out across more than 50 acres along the slow-moving Pend-Oriole River. It's such an idyllic spot that its owners, Ken and Shannon Scheckler, were able to charge upwards of $4,000 to couples searching for a secluded place to marry. But the success of the Schicklers' wedding venue business began to fray over the past year and a half. According to Aaron Jones, a lawyer representing Shannon, first, Ken filed for divorce last year. Then COVID-19 arrived and threw a wrench into a business predicted on bringing people together, Jones said. A judge eventually granted Shannon full control over the ranch and ordered Ken to leave the property. When Shannon and her attorney arrived back at the ranch on September 13th to conduct an inventory of the shared property to date. In their divorce proceedings, they found things in disarray. They also found a group of people they didn't know lived on the property, including in the ranch main house. The people included Matt, Amanda, and others. They heard a baby crying, Jones said. As they continued their survey on the property, they came to a tiny home located on a dirt road closer to the river. When Jones knocked on the door and announced himself, Riley came to the door, armed with 2 pistols in his belt, according to Jones. During a brief conversation, Jones said Riley indicated he had the authority of Ken to run the place. As he tried to press Riley about what he meant and where a number of missing vehicles were, Jones described Riley's answers as vague. 2 days after Jones and Shannon Sheckler toured the ranch and took inventory, Jason drove to the wooded property and ended up being beaten to death and buried. Ken Sheckler's attorney, Joe Coleman, rejects the claim that Ken left the men in control of the property. Coleman described Ken Sheckler as just another victim of these nefarious individuals. With Mr. Sheckler not being allowed on the property by the dissolution action, Coleman said, referring to the judge's order, there was certainly nothing to stop them from squatting on the property. In fact, Coleman said, a case against Riley and Matt for wire fraud, theft, and other charges is already in the works. They stole from him, and they left him nearly penniless, Coleman said. There are opportunists who took advantage of a man at his lowest point. When conversation between the deputies and Riley talked very angrily under his breath about Ken Sheckler and said he should have killed him when he had the chance, according to court documents. Riley also did what 3 of the 4 suspects would ultimately do in interviews with investigators that day, acknowledged that Jason had been killed there in the early hours of September 15th, but denied doing so himself and cast blame on fellow suspects. Riley reportedly told deputies that Claude and Matt had beaten Jason in the shop on the ranch. Claude, however, blamed Riley and Matt. Matt told investigators Claude and Riley had beaten up Jason near to death, while Jason was seated in a chair before burying him, presumably alive. All denied their involvement in the shallow burial. Belding was the outlier. He stuck to the story detectives deemed fabricated, according to court documents. Jason had driven his car off the ranch property. Another thing missing from those documents, despite the first-degree murder charge, is an explanation of whether, and if so, how the murder was premeditated. Hunt said premeditation isn't a necessary element of such of a crime, and that it's not the element she is charging it under. Citing the ongoing investigation and the ethics of her office, she declined to say much more. We're working the case like we'd worked any other case, she said. There's not a lot I can share with you. 4 people have been charged with the murder in connection with Jason's death, and we already know, but I will state them again. Matt being 28, Matt Freeman, 28, Kevin Belden, 24, Claude Merritt, 25, and Riley Halstead, 26. All these guys are a lot older than Jason. They were all arrested and booked into jail for multiple charges, including first-degree murder. All 4 of the suspects were arrested in connection to Jason's murder between November 7th through the 8th. Each of them appeared in county courtroom on Monday morning except for Riley. A sergeant said he refused to leave his jail cell to appear in court. Another suspect, Sean Bella, was also arrested and faces charges of providing false or misleading statements. On September 24th, while search warrants indicate Jason had previously had confrontations with these men, investigators have yet to put together a clear picture of what happened the night of Jason's death. I'm glad that people are interested in paying attention, says Sheriff Blacksley. I hope people reserve judgment until we get to court, and facts can be presented in a thorough manner. Here are the charges the 4 men are facing before court with a jury. Matt Radix Freeman will be facing first and second degree murder, first-degree manslaughter, unlawful disposal of human remains, failure to notify the coroner, unauthorized concealment of a body, second-degree murder, taking a motor vehicle without permission, tampering with physical evidence, and making a false or misleading statement to a public servant. Kevin Belding, and Claude Merritt will be facing first and second degree murder, first-degree manslaughter, unlawful disposal of a human remains, unauthorized concealment of a body, failure to notify the coroner, and making a false and misleading statement to law enforcement. Until they do have court, they all are being held on a $750,000 bail and are expected back in court on November 16th, 2020. Charges against Riley are not known at this time, as he did not show up for the first appearance. Riley Halstead faces 9 charges: first and second degree murder, first degree manslaughter, unlawful disposal of human remains, failure to notify the coroner, unauthorized concealment of a body, second degree taking a motor vehicle without permission, tampering with physical evidence, and making false statements to police. Prosecutor Dolly Hunt is arguing for Riley to be charged as principal or as an accomplice to murder. We're going to be asking that you find Mr. Riley not guilty of first-degree murder. The lesser include charges of the second-degree murder and first-degree manslaughter and unlawful disposal of human remains, Hunt told to the jury. On Thursday, the jury started deliberations. Claude Merritt had been found guilty on all charges in connection of the death of the 19-year-old, except unlawful disposal of human remains. Claude was found guilty on multiple charges, including first-degree murder. The prosecutors believe Claude lured Jason to a shop. There he was tied up and beaten, then taken in a side-by-side to a 4-foot deep hole and buried there. In closing arguments on Thursday, prosecutor Dolly Hunt told the jury they believe Claude played a major role in his murder. The testimony was that Claude Merritt kneed Jason in the face in the shop that night. Claude stomped on Jason in the back of the side-by-side. Hunt said, Claude is the one that places Jason on his knees at the edge of the grave and pushes him in. Claude's defense attorney, Dennis Morgan, insisted none of the evidence admitted in court provided his involvement in these crimes. Claude's DNA wasn't there. Claude's fingerprints weren't there. Claude's blood was only in that bathroom. The shoes of all 4 were tested. No evidence was found on Claude's shoes, Morgan said. The side-by-side was searched and examined. There was no evidence connecting Claude to the side-by-side other than he and Jason riding around on it that night having fun. He was found guilty of first-degree murder and all the other charges of slew that I said, and he got 28 years in prison. Riley Halstead, he was charged with second-degree murder and first-degree manslaughter, and all the other slew of charges that I said. The ones that he was not charged with was first-degree murder or kidnapping. Okay? He only got 18 years in prison. Now, these 2 men right here, I don't think that's enough, especially Riley. Kevin Belding, he took a plea deal for being a accomplice in the murder and for failure to notify a coroner. But everything else was taken off the table. So far, yet, there are no information, if you find it awesome, but information about how long he's getting in prison for that. Now, Matthew Freeman, he has not been to court yet. He has not been to court. And yes, he's in prison, but he has not had his court date in front of a jury yet. But when he does, I promise you, I will come back. I will come back and tell you in the comments at least what he has been charged with. But I want to look up his name. Matthew. They do not have a court date yet for him, for Matt Freeman. The aftermath of all of this so far was investigators have spent months piecing together what happened to Jason. They have researched the phone, the electronic records of about a dozen people. They've interviewed many more. All 4 men that were arrested ended a large share of the uncertainty surrounding Jason's disappearance and discovery. Uncertainty, animosity, and questions remain. Paul Riley's father, the house in Newport where he has lived all his life, has been hit with rocks and eggs. I'm very sorry for the Jason family, for their pain, but I lost a son too, like the others. No, you didn't. Riley's still alive. There's a difference. You can go talk to him in prison, but Jason's family can never talk or hear their son's voice again. There's a difference. Riley's father said, I'm just asking to leave us alone and to let the system work itself out. I'm tired of being harassed by people. The cops say stay low, but why do I have to bunker up? As soon as Pepper Fox learned her son had disappeared, she prepaid several months of rent at her residence on the west side, booked a motel room in Newport, and lined the walls with pictures of her son. She approached everyone involved in the investigation, including the 4 arrested suspects and Jason's drug dealer, demanding answers. There's people who think I'm strong. I feel like I've lost my mind. I miss my baby so much. I think people are mistaking a gal that has nothing left to lose with someone who's brave, Pepper said. I want to know the truth. I want justice. People here ask me for help now because they think I'm brave. I'm not. I'm a nobody that lost their kid. While Sheriff Blakesley expressed sympathy for the Jason family, he also said all the back and forth about what may have happened and the rush to speculate on why Jason was killed has actually been harmful to the case. That hasn't stopped the prosecutor Dolly Hunt from pursuing a litany of charges against the accused murderers. Even as Blakesley and his deputies continue to investigate what happened at the ranch, I don't have the full investigations, Hunt said. That hasn't been provided to me. Law enforcement is still working on that. What Hunt is not pursuing, at least for now, are charges related to a hate crime. And now where in court documents does Jason's sexuality come up as a potential factor of his death? So they are still investigating, y'all. They got the people who did it, but they're still trying to figure out why. And Pepper is fighting and trying to give as much evidence as she can to relate it to a hate crime so they can be charged with that too. And it's not that, they might get a longer sentence. No, it's not about that. It's about what really happened to her kid. About what really happened to Jason and why. Unfortunately, when they've tried having a memorial, unsavory people came and vandalized the event. They wrote homophobic slurs and broke things. It's just heartbreaking. Also, before the guilty were arrested, Pepper went and questioned Riley, and he actually came out to the end of his driveway and threatened Jason's mother with an AR-15. You heard that right. And the police came out, and guess who they reprimanded? Jason's mother. What the fuck? Yes, Pepper, that was not a smart thing to do, especially if you knew that this guy had already stated he wanted to kill a bunch of people. Jason's mother, Pepper, said justice will be served. However, it won't bring her son back. I want to know why. Why his life was worth it and why their life was worth it too, Pepper said. She knows 2 of the suspects and had seen them before while chatting with her son over FaceTime. Jason trusted these people, and he felt he could be himself around them, and obviously he could not. Jason said her son was gay, and she feels that he was murdered because of his sexual orientation. I don't get to look forward to holidays. I don't get to look forward to him buying a house, get married. I mean, all of that's gone. Jason had a best friend named Abby and really true friends that miss him every day. At the end, I will be putting some of Abby's TikToks that she has made about Jason. I feel like Jason's father, Michael, has done more harm than good. He's the one that accidentally got the memorial vandalized. And also, when they buried Jason, supposedly his burial looked like one of a dog. And you'll see that TikTok and pictures on here. And y'all, it does. And that upsets Pepper so much that they could treat her son like that. That's the end of this case. I have tried to tell everything that I could. What happened to Jason was horrific. At the least, horrific. My thoughts were that it was related to drugs as well. That's my opinion. When I have everything in front of me, I really feel that it was related to drugs somehow, but also that he was gay. This is the type of person Jason was. He actually brought $85 worth of McDonald's with him to the ranch that day to feed everyone there. His so-called fucking friends. I hope y'all rot in prison. I hope that someone reminds you every day of what you do not have anymore is a life, freedom, to just get up and go wherever you want and eat whatever you want. And karma and God will be the ultimate consequences. I'm just happy all 4 got what they deserved. But Pepper says there are like 19 more people who were involved, and she's coming for them. She's coming for y'all. I'm just stating that's what she said. I've never wanted to root so hard for a person than this mother. It's a pretty shitty thing to take someone's life just because who they are. I will say that I do believe that there are many webs weaved, and it is a very easy thing to get stuck. He was murdered for many reasons. I bet that they didn't want Pepper to see his body because he was raped and tortured in some way. Jason's father showed no remorse, and to me, like I said, that's creepy as fuck. I do believe Pepper in many of the theories. It just sucks that many are getting away with this. The ones that got caught got off way too easy. I will close this video out by posting many of the TikToks that were made. Some of it shows many other true characters of the people that were in Jason's life. Pepper also says she does not care if it paints her in some kind of bad light, as long as the truth gets out there. Too many in the LGBTQ+ community get bullied, and even worse, like Jason and many others. More awareness needs to be done. I will not go on a tangent or try to preach to y'all. Everyone has their own opinions, are entitled to them. If you do not agree with something, just fucking keep walking and stay out of other people's lives and decisions. I want to take the time to give my condolences to Jason's family. My channel is not just for talking about what happened to a person. It is educational and a voice for the victim and their families. I work so hard on finding the truth and facts, and I will not be apologetic for the hard truth that I find. If this is not for you, then you can go watch a different channel. I also will tell you that if anyone is disrespectful in the comments section, your comment will be deleted. And if you keep being disrespectful, then I will just ban you from my channel. Thank you. Please be wary of who you trust. Many people are wolves in sheep's clothing. Remember that. Stay safe, y'all. Until next time. And I love y'all so much.
Chances I gave up, all the wasted time when I was stuck. The pain was all too much, still I'm holding on inside. I'm messed up, I'm toxic, I'm dragging you down. Can you still love me? Can you still love? I'm still here, I'm drowning, I'm lost now without you. I'm dead in the water, I'm not dead in your soul. I'm barely alive.
Handsome, happy birthday, baby.
Thank you. What am I gonna use this for? I don't know what that is.
The traffic was awful.
The traffic was fucking awful.
It's only a mile from the house.
It's awful. Oh my good God, you should have seen it. I fucking parked across where you look, the intersection where we pull into the intersection where you go off of 122nd and then you take a right.
Yeah.
Okay, fucking, when you're at that intersection, instead of taking the left, you go to school, and the right, and fucking I parked, like, right next to the building, like, on the side of the road, and fucking I looked at the and this old guy's like, yeah, you can go, and he's like, dong my head at me, yeah, when I'm, like, trying to get in, and fucking I pull in, and then he's, like, fucking shaking his head at me, like, what did you just do? He stopped his car and let me pull in.
This is what he wanted to come up with. He's got one that says the same thing on his arm in my handwriting. And that's the kind of kid he was. You know?
Kid he was?
Car in Montana and don't contact you.
It's very bizarre. I've never asked for anything except for them to do their job.
You're feeling all like glasses, and maybe it's a habit. You're sleeping on this mattress with each other, just a madness. Oh,
my dad said, where the fuck are you? And I said, I'm right here, and he slapped me across the face, and I picked my ass up off the ground.
Not only do I have to fight the congregations, the cult, the murderers' families, the murderers not in jail, the police, the sheriffs, but now I have to pay for the video footage at Timber River Ranch by the mother of a girl that went missing after she said some weird shit at my son's candlelight video.
There's a man with a gun over there.
You asked me to help you with your daughter, and I did a bunch of shit, and you rode my coattails. You put missing Melinda posters over my son's Justice for Jason Fox signs, and I didn't fucking bitch once. I found out from someone else, the person that gave them to you, the hard drives to Timber River Ranch, when you finally said that you did have them. Now you want me to pay for them? It has my son's murder on it! It's alright. God don't like ugly. I'll get you your fucking money. I'll find a way. You're a piece of shit. We're at the home. For some reason, Mike wants me to hurry up and sign the papers so Jason can be cremated. I'll take a day. I want to see the body, but they won't let me. But they don't know that I know the law, so whatever. Hi.
How can I help you?
My name is Pepper Fox.
You got a cremation form to sign?
I suppose so. I really want to see.
Yeah.
Jason. Well, I have a right to see it. You can't stop me from seeing it because it is my child. I made him, so if I wanted to see him, I could.
But I would say against it because I've been doing. I like everybody seeing everybody, and I've been doing it 26 years. And
is it the worst you've ever seen?
Oh, yeah. Some of the. That's what I'm saying. It's something that you don't want to have to remember them by. You know, it's just.
I mean, I'm sorry to have you tell you, but I need to describe it. I didn't know. I
got some here.
Thank you.
But yeah, no, because like I did my own dad 16 years ago, and I told anybody, if we can't help the people that are here, what are we doing? But I like everybody to see everybody that they can, but sometimes when they shouldn't see them, you know, that is when we say no, because there's nothing we can do to even help it. That's how bad it is, you know, and some of the stuff we can do.
Right.
But, you know, because a lot of the prep and stuff, I've been doing that 26 years too. I like working in the back room because I figure if you can help the family that's here, you're at least doing something.
Right.
But no one should have to go through it, you know. I'll get that little bag I got, I'll show you.
Okay, thank you. Did Robbie leave like a teddy bear or something for Jason?
Yeah, they brought some stuff in, and
if I may ask what it was.
A shirt and some had a little something in a bag, and I don't know if it was a little teddy bear or what it was.
Yeah, it probably was.
I always put everything they want with them, so.
Well, can I have a copy of this?
Yep, you can. And the way it looks like, we're going to have two of the plastic urns, and I think you get half and he gets half the way it's supposed to be, so.
My father told me it's a beautiful life, so make sure you always open up your eyes to all the adventures. Go against the tide. Before you know it, you'll be running out of time. You should fight for So make sure you always open up your eyes to all the adventures. Go against the tide. Before you know it, you'll be running out of time. You should fight for all you wanna be. Don't look back on what it could have been. You'll find it. You'll find it. You can make your way across the sea. Find your places you ain't never been. Now I believe. Now I believe. The chances I gave up, all the wasted time when I was stuck. The pain was all too much. Still I'm holding on inside. I'm messed up, I'm toxic, I'm dragging you down. Can you still love me? Can you still love? I'm still here, I'm drowning, I'm lost now without you. I'm dead in the water, I'm not dead in your soul. I'm barely alive. I miss you all of the time. I'm floating but I'm barely alive. I'm dead in the water. I'm dead, will you pull me I'll take up all the blame. Just tell me that there's still some good left to make you wanna stay. 'Cause when you walked in, I was crawling. Now I'm standing, 'cause we're talking. Can you let go? Do you see me? I'm begging you now. I'm still here, I'm drowning, I'm lost now without you. I'm dead in the water, I'm not dead in your soul. I'm barely alive. I miss you all of the time. I'm floating but I'm barely alive.
They ask how are you dating? But please stop asking, I can't take it. So they tell me to stop chasing. You know it's over, time to face it. Oh, I know I should move on, but I just can't. I think that I might love you till the end. So how can I forget you when you were the one? You used to be my everything. There's nothing when you're gone. How can I forget you when you were the one? You used to be my everything. There's nothing when you're gone. There's nothing when you're gone. I know I should move on, but I just can't. I think that I might love you till the end. So how can I forget you when you were the one? You used to be my everything. There's nothing when you're gone. How can I forget you when you were the
When you're down and you feel like you can't get up, got the weight of the world on your chest. You wanna let go, but you're feeling stuck. Don't you dare let go of my hand. This was never the plan. I will never let you fall. I'm here by your side through it all. Don't go blaming yourself, and it's not wrong to ask for help. You're trapped inside these walls, but don't think for a second it's your fault. I'm here for you. I am here. I'm here for you. Don't let life shake you down. When the sunset fades and the darkness comes, just hold on, you'll see it through.
This is a peaceful demonstration where the community come together on not just a regional level, but a global level at this point.
A Newport man being honored at a celebration of life tomorrow. 19-year-old Jason Fox was killed last fall, but those who knew and loved him are now working to change the narrative around diversity in their small community. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for being here. I'm Whitney Ward.
And I'm Tom Sherry. The trial keeps getting pushed back for those accused of killing Jason Fox, but his mother says she wants to keep his case on everyone's mind.
That is why hundreds of people are expected to gather tomorrow as part of the first ever Pride event in Newport. Our Morgan Trow has been covering this case for more than 6 months now. She brings us the latest tonight.
Jason would still be here today if he wasn't flamboyantly LGBTQA in rural America. And that's truly what resulted in unfortunate events that ended his life.
Outrage continues to grow surrounding the murder of gay Newport teenager Jason Fox. And now his story has gone worldwide. The hashtag justiceforjasonfox has 11.8 million views on TikTok alone. Jason Fox should be turning 20 on April 3rd, but he vanished in mid-September, only to be found a month later in a shallow grave. His family and friends believe the homicide was a hate crime. Jason's friend Dustin Jolly, his mother Pepper, and activists around the country pitched in to have the first Pride event ever in Newport.
Being referred to as a peaceful protest to celebrate Jason's life on his birthday. He would be 20 years old tomorrow.
Saturday at noon at the Newport City Park, supporters will be marching, listening to speakers, and holding a candlelight vigil. On their Facebook event page, people from all over the country say they are driving and flying in for the Justice for Jason Fox Pride gathering and protests.
We're projecting anywhere between, 500 to possibly 5,000 people in a town with the population of, a little over 2,000.
This comes after Pepper started going viral on TikTok for pleading for justice for her son. In a previous Creme 2 story, influencer Josh Healthcott explains his platform of millions of followers helped push Jason's story into international news because people empathized with his story.
We see ourselves in him, and we want to prevent this from happening to another LGBT kid that doesn't have a safe place to go.
Newport police say they are monitoring the influx of people as best as they can, and they are bringing in additional resources to prepare for the protest.
Let's build a stronger together.
So far, 5 men have been arrested in connection with Jason's murder. The Ponderay County Sheriff's Office is still investigating the motive, but they are looking at all leads. The trial against the suspects is scheduled for early May. Reporting in Spokane, Morgan Trow, Creme 2 News.
It's a real hot album, homie. I wonder who wrote it. Oh shit, oh dang.
Devil's hide behind redemption, honesty.